Back in 2018, God of War was released, and it was my favorite game of that year. While it lacked a little bit in accessibility, because honestly accessibility wasn't really a big huge thing in games at that time, it still was my favorite game of the year for that year. Well, now jump to 2022, also hi, new background, new everything, whatever. We now have a new PC port, and with it comes some new accessibility options. Does it improve on the original 4 years ago? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Steve Saylor, I'm blind, and if you're wondering how I'm able to play video games if I'm blind, if you take a look at the video here and the video's not there, click the link in the description down below to see exactly what I see when I'm playing video games. And hey, new office, I rearranged it. It's 2022. I've got some cool new stuff on the horizon. And speaking of which, I want to be able to encourage you, please hit the subscribe button so you can be able to see when the new stuff comes up. I would really appreciate it. And also, if you like this video at the end, please click the like button as well. This video is going to be all about the new PC port for God of War. It is coming out this week, and I got to sit down with my friend Grant Stoner, who is an accessibility journalist. We both got to play it and review it, and we're going to give our thoughts on it. So let's jump right into that conversation. All right, Grant, boy. Are you ready to talk God of War for PC, sir?
I am very ready, and I'm small, just like the boy.
Yes, exactly.
So it's great.
Well, the actor ain't small no more. He's definitely grown up quite a bit, so it's gonna be interesting to see what how they do that in God of War Ragnarok. But we're not talking about God of War Ragnarok. We're talking about God of War for PC, PlayStation's newest PC port from 2018's God of War. We're talking about some of the accessibility for this. And Grant, I want to find out from you because this is your first time playing God of War, correct?
Yeah, I never played on PlayStation because I didn't have a controller that I could use. And I also lost the capability to hold a standard controller when the game released. So this is my first time playing the game, period.
So this is great. So A, what do you think of the game so far? And then we'll talk about the accessibility.
So far, it's my game of the year.
Wow. Okay. It's about 3 years, a little bit, like 3-4 years, a little bit too late. But you know what? That's fine. It's your game of the year. Let's go.
I love the story. I love the combat is so fluid, and the design of it makes it really accessible. Like, you button mash, but not really. If that makes sense, like the combos are spaced out enough where I'm not rapidly jamming my mouse. And also the enemies, you don't fight like tens of them at once. It's usually like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
Which is great for me.
Yeah, even when you kind of get into those like combat situations where there is a lot of people around you, they generally are can keep their distance to a degree, obviously depending on sort of the difficulty setting that you set. But I do like that aspect. It's not just an overwhelming amount of enemies are coming at you at once, which is really cool. So I will admit, like back in 2018 when I played this, it was definitely my game of the year for that year. So I'm glad you finally were able to sort of enjoy this game. I'm really curious to see what you think of it once you complete it. Hopefully you can be able to complete it. But speaking of which, how do you think the accessibility fares on the PC version of God of War?
Well, I can't really do a comparison because I've never played the PlayStation version. But for me, for the PC version, I would say it's 90% successful. They do have a few things that they're missing, like you can't toggle aiming and guarding. You have to hold those buttons, and those can be difficult whenever you're fighting bosses like ancients, where you have to hold both aiming and blocking usually at the same time. But other than that, auto sprinting, which is a new feature in the PC version, I think amazing.
Oh, yes, 100%. That auto sprint, and then being able to sort of set the auto sprint delay, you can kind of manually adjust the timing of the two. And it's been kind of fun to be kind of like really like experiment, kind of fine tweak that, at least on my end, because there'll be times I'll be like, all I want to do is just have like a strolling like walk through the forest with Atreus. And then all of a sudden, like, boom, Kratos is just off like a shot and just sprinting. And I'm like, oh, no, OK, maybe I need to deal back the delay on auto sprint. But yes, that is a nice improvement from the original. That was really cool to see. So what else did you enjoy?
The ability to like hold buttons instead of mash them. Specifically with like enemy encounters, like if you do enough damage, you can hold the button to do an execution. I thought that was really nice. Especially if I've been playing for hours on end, which I usually can't say for most games. So that's another like feather in its cap. Like if I'm playing God of War, I'm usually playing for like 3+ hours, which hasn't happened in a very long time. Aside from games like Pokemon, which I can play forever. But
well, when you compare in between the two, I get it,
yeah,
but I mean, it's still a good milestone to reach, so we can be able to play this for multiple hours at a time.
Yeah. The abilities are nice. The way that they space them out in terms of like holding versus tapping certain abilities. So I know I have some like I guess we call runic powers.
Yes.
Is that what they're, yeah, okay. So I have some that like I have to hold, some that I can just tap. And I think those are a great mix. So if I'm too tired to the end of a lengthy play session, I just won't use one of my abilities as often as I used to. So it gives me variety. Atreus is great in terms of combat assistance. Like the way that he can just target enemies on his own without having me to press a button, and the way that he can stun enemies for you again without having to press a button is amazing, which helps me play for longer, because the game is about, fighting and killing monsters and such, so anything to help alleviate that strain is great. I do have issues with traversal. So primarily when I play PC games, I just use W to move, and then I use the camera to like position my movement. So like in Destiny 2, for example, all I use is W and I just spin my camera around.
Sure.
I want to turn around, whatever. The boat movements and the climbing movements can be a little bit tedious because you have to use like left and right on your keyboard.
Correct, yeah.
So the way I go about that is I just pull up my virtual keyboard, and it works just fine. You can use it in the game perfectly. There's no issues. The only issue is aesthetically pleasing. It's kind of annoying because I always have to have my virtual keyboard on the screen.
Right.
But that's just a minor complaint. I don't need to like really give a whole entire negative critique of that issue because there is a workaround.
Sure.
And you don't have to use it like as often as a game could make you use it.
Yeah, there are times where that, like, having to be able to, like, I know what you mean when you're having to kind of like you're climbing walls and you're jumping from like one section to another, that kind of thing. And yeah, that can be annoying having to be able to pull up the virtual keyboard for those. But those only happen in certain moments in the game. So it's an inconvenience, but it's not something that like you would be like, God of War forces me to use a virtual keyboard. I hate this game.
No, like if that's my biggest complaint, which honestly it is.
Sure.
Like the game is great. It's amazing. It almost makes you wonder like why there is system exclusivity. Like
like being able to like the fact of being a PC, like a PC and a PlayStation game, like that kind of thing.
Can't you just have it on both at the same time.
Sure.
I don't know why we had to wait 3 years.
Sure.
This game's amazing. I love it.
I agree. I would agree with you, and hopefully that is something that will be in PlayStation's future. Now that these PC ports seem to be successful, I remember when we first chatted about Horizon when it kind of came out. That was something that we both at least favorably kind of reviewed, and so it seems that essentially, because I like when you're looking at the accessibility overall, if you're just looking at the accessibility menu in general, compared, I actually had to look back at my original review on my YouTube channel to kind of see what the original accessibility menu looked like, and looking at that compared to the PC port, is that essentially the accessibility menu doubled. So when you look at that in of itself, you would think, okay, this is actually amazingly accessible, and to a certain degree, yes and no. I would say for majority of disability like types, it's more of a quality of life improvement. So for deaf and hard of hearing, or for blind and low vision, it's there's certain things that get improved, but not a huge amount. Where it seems to be, and Grant, this is what like one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, was it seems that there's a lot of improvement for motor disabilities. So it sounds like to you, like this is like, hey, this is the most successful game you played in a while. Would that be kind of a true statement to say?
Well, aside from Pokemon, because
sure,
I can play with one finger. Like I can fall asleep and play a game beautifully. Yeah, this game is probably one of the least physically exhausting games I've played in months. It's just amazing. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I like, as other stuff that's kind of like accessibility stuff that I saw in there. I think we talked about the auto sprint. That was a nice sort of additional feature that I enjoyed. That is new. The ability to be able to change rage mode from L3 and R3, which is the controller at least you always had to push L3 and R3 in the original game, but now you have the choice of being able to change that to the face buttons of A and B instead, which can help so that you're not constantly having to be able to click in those sticks on the controller, which is great. So there is that aspect, and obviously being able to use a variety of different controllers instead of just the PlayStation controllers. There is a bit of kind of versatility when it comes to being able to choose which controller, or even just mouse and keyboard as you need. So that in of itself is an improvement for sure. And then obviously there's been new things like camera shake, and the reticle, where you can have it set to always on screen, which is nice, and so that can help with cognitive disabilities. So like I said, there's a lot more kind of quality of life improvements, because I remember playing it back in the day, and this is the first time I've actually touched God of War since playing it in 2018, and I can see that there has been some improvement. But if you're waiting for the one of the things that was kind of the criticism of it back in the day, at least for me, was the text size was a little bit small. It unfortunately didn't really improve that much, or at least enough that I know that was noticeable to me, that felt like, okay, like this is actually something I can, like, I don't have to lean into the screen in order to be able to see. There is some noticeable improvement, but not enough in my opinion. So if you're looking for this game to be amazingly accessible, it is obviously to you, Grant, as a motor disability, but from everything else, it's just more of quality life improvements from that aspect. What are your final thoughts, Grant, on God of War? Like, are you going to keep playing this? Are you going to finish this all the way to the end? Are you going to roll credits? What are you looking forward to, like, possibly knowing more of as you're playing?
I'm definitely going to roll credits on this game.
Yeah, you're going to finish it?
I do know how it ends because I watched a Let's Play.
Oh, okay. Darn, I was kind of hoping that you would know, that you would not know, so that it's like, oh, okay, wait till you get to this part.
No, I know the secrets. But still, being able to play it for the first time is amazing. I do wonder if Sony will start making it more of a habit to release like console and PC at the same time, or roughly at the same time, because God of War is proof that, like, it didn't work for me on PlayStation, and work for me on PC. If it does that for me, I'm sure we'll do that for plenty of other physically disabled people.
For sure. Yeah, I do. Like I said, I do hope that that'll start being a part of PlayStation's strategy moving forward. With like, and the time in between ports will become like less and less, so that hopefully we'll be able to start seeing maybe day and date PlayStation and PC ports, because that would be amazing. But that is a future that we'd love to see, but we don't know for certain. But what we do know for certain is that, Grant, you have a review of God of War coming out, specifically your written review. Where can we be able to find that as of today?
I'm not sure yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, then you know what? Follow you. Where can we follow you on Twitter so that we know where that's going to go?
If it does come out. Because I'm not sure yet, the life of a journalist.
Sure.
Such, yeah, we're never sure. You can follow me on Twitter at super_grip1994. Yeah, and hopefully it comes out. If it doesn't, then I guess this is my official review.
There we go. We can kill two birds with one stone. Or, I don't know, kill two
ravens.
Kill two ravens with one stone. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh, God, Odin's going to kill us. All right, anyway. All right, well, thanks, Grant, for joining me on this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, always. I'm always glad to chat with you on games.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much to Grant for joining me on this conversation. I really appreciate it. And what I also would appreciate is if you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment down below. And also, if you want to be able to see more of my videos, click the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon so you can be notified when new videos come out. I really, really appreciate that. I know I said that too many times already, but I do. And also, if you like this video, click the like button. I also would appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. As always, I remain obediently yours. Bye.